92. Let us go through the illustration A to section 92, which are required to be combined to both section 91, 92, because 92 cannot be read in isolation. It has to be read along with 91 by giving a harmonious interpretation to both the sections. Okay. First illustration. Yeah. A policy of insurance is effected on goods in ships from Calcutta to London. The goods are shipped in a particular ship which is lost. The fact that a particular ship was orally accepted from the policy cannot be proved. So there is no chance, there is no question of proving oral evidence, because here insurance document is a document which is a disposition about it's reduced in writing. There is no ambiguity in the document. So the question of the carving out an exception does not arise by leading oral evidence. There is no ambiguity in that. Okay, that is how this will come straight away under section 91 of the Evidence Act. Also, as well as in 92, when the document terms of the contract are written down in a document, you are not permitted to lead oral evidence unless there's a fraud or misrepresentation. So there is no fraud here. There is no misrepresentation here. There is no separate oral agreement between the parties that you will be permitted to lead. There has to be a separate agreement. There is no such agreement. There is no novatio. There is no mistake as such. When there is no mistake, when there is no ambiguity, when there is no written contract, parties cannot be permitted to lead oral evidence to explain the written document. This will be A, is a finest example. B, A agrees absolutely in writing to pay B 1,000 on the 1st of March 1873. The fact that at the same time an oral agreement was made that money should not be paid till the till the 31st March cannot be proved here. Now there cannot be inconsistency in the agreement. The first agreement is absolutely clear that you are required to pay 1,000 rupees per month on the 1st of March. When unambiguously it is explained here, you cannot be there cannot be a proviso which says that here that oral evidence can be led, or there is a oral agreement between the parties. The amount cannot be paid till 31st. There is inconsistency. The inconsistency purposes you cannot invoke the provisions of oral evidence. So there is no the payment of 1,000 per month is absolutely written. It is naked eyes is very clear. The grant and contract is reduced into form of a writing. There is no mistake as such. There is no ambiguity as such. So oral evidence cannot be permitted. Number two, C. An estate called Rampur Tea Estate is sold by a deed which contains a map that property is sold. The fact that the land not included in the map, always been regarded as part of the estate, was meant to pass by a deed cannot be proved. So here again also you will not be permitted to. The estate called Rampur contains a particular map and property. The property full description of the property has been given. A map has been given. A drawing has been drawn. So when the drawing is drawn, when there is a sketch full description which is in conformity with the provisions of Order 6, Rule 1 and 2 CPC, you cannot be permitted to lead oral evidence that here in that regard to explain what the property was or regarding a statement to pass by the deed cannot be. So there cannot be an assumption or presumption that the estate automatically will pass to XYZ by the deed is not explained there. That is a deed with regard to the sale of the property, and no other terms can be inferred by virtue of the document. Then B, A enters into a written contract with B to work certain mine, the property of B, upon certain term. A was induced to do so by misrepresentation to the value. This may be proved. So here the factum of misrepresentation and inducement will straight away come within the proviso 1 to section 91. Mean a fact may be proved which invalidate a document where a person relating to a fraud, intimidation, illegality or due execution, want of capacity, contract, failure to consideration. Then the second proviso also speaks of certain things which the court oral evidence will be permitted. So the no sooner misrepresentation of fraud is alleged here, you will be permitted to lead oral evidence by virtue of proviso 1 of section 92 here. Now to this evidence will be led. No? Yes, that is D, you will be permitted to lead oral evidence, not in other cases. Not the A, B, C earlier. D पे E पे आ जाइए. A institute a suit against B for specific performance of a contract and also praise that the contract may be performed as to one of the provision was inserted in it by mistake. A may prove that such mistake was made, put by law, entitles him to have the contract reform. Yes, both the provisions of proviso A, proviso 1 to section 92, that is a fact would invalidate any document by a person, decree relating to document, fraud, intimidation, illegality, want of capacity, can be even consideration, mistake of law or fact. Underline the word. Proviso 1 के अंदर you are permitted to lead evidence, oral evidence. Moreover, under the provisions of section 26 of the specific relief act, just open section 26 of the relief act, you are permitted to go for rectification of a document. Please open section 26. When the instrument may be rectified, when there is a mistake and fraud, I'll point at you. When through fraud or a mutual mistake of the parties, section 26 of the specific relief. When through fraud or a mutual mistake of the parties, a contract or the instrument or writing not being the articles of association does not express the real intention, then either party or representative in interest may institute a suit to have the instrument rectified. So here rectification is permissible when there's a mistake take place here. So section 26 of the Specific Relief Act permits you rectification of a contract. So similarly, the proviso 1 also tells you when there's a mistake of law or a mistake of fact. By virtue of some mistake, the agreement does not disclose the correct picture. So I told you yesterday, you must have purchased a 10 biga land, but by on account of some mistake, maybe deliberate or wanton mistake, or maybe through oversight, the only 8 bigas are mentioned. 8 bigas are given to you. You may make an application to the court. They let the contract be, let the agreement be modified. Let it be rectified by invoking the power of the court, civil court under section 26. So you may be permitted to lead evidence to show that in fact what was agreed between the parties was to sell 10 bigas. I paid the consideration for 10 bigas in the presence of the broker who was a party to that year. But unfortunately, when I took inspection, I came to know that year only 8 bigas have been told to me. I had taken a survey. So I may be permitted to lead the oral evidence in this regard to prove that there is a mistake apparent on the face of the record. So the court will permit you. Okay. And of law mean here, there's a mistake of law also, we say that here. Say, for example, here, there may be a previous decree which may have been passed in respect of the same suit. The property is sought to be sold. You say that here the agreement has not taken into consideration, or the settled law that the earlier decree operated res judicata has not been applied here in the present matter, which you would like to lead evidence in this regard. I got the document. So a mistake which was committed by your previous attorney or previous lawyer, previous witnesses, or your documents have been misplaced. You are a person, you are acting in a representative in interest capacity. So you had purchased the property. A and B are the real parties who are litigating. Both A and B died and gone. C and D have been substituted. So C and D are the representative in interest of the parties. They may not be having in possession of all the document, But by the passage of time, they discovered that here there was also formally a suit was filed between A and B, which was not noticed. It has come to light here. So there is an error apparent, the error of law apparent on the face of the record, which I would like to correct it. That you will be permitted to lead oral evidence of the parties, and also to prove that here the earlier record of the court which passed a decree, or you may say that error of law can be many things. That there may be a custom prevailing in this particular region that is not noticed by the court, or a law point that the law has been changed. The earlier existing law permitting a particular contract has been deleted, nullified by a subsequent judgment of the Supreme Court, which I would like to bring on record. So any legal point which have subsequently emerged, you will be permitted to lead oral evidence. Okay, that is the meaning of clause E. Okay, now come to F. A orders goods of B by letter in which nothing is said as to time of the payment. No, time is not mentioned normally under section 55 of the Indian Contract Act. Time is the essence of the contract. Now time is not mentioned. And accept the goods on delivery. A sues B for price. A may show that the goods were supplied on credit for a time still unexpired. So he may show that here, though the time has not been expired, but I will be permitted to lead evidence that the goods were delivered on the 31st of on the 30th of January. In fact, and pursuant to the contract, I was supposed to deliver by 20th. So the presence of an agent, the presence of a third party, the presence of the person on whose behalf the order is placed, he can be examined. You may say that here I may be permitted to lead evidence to show that time was not the essence of the contract. Okay, that is there. Item number G. A sells B a horse and verbally warrants him. Verbally warrants his, sorry. A sells B a horse and verbally warrants him sound. So he gives a verbal warranty. Warranty is almost a guarantee that is a very sound horse. It's capable of, it is in a good condition. Then A gives B a paper in these words. Bought to A's horse rupees, bought of A horse of 500. B may prove verbal guarantee. तो यहाँ पे only in the contract के अंदर he written down the value of the consideration, but the sound condition, unsound condition of the horse was not mentioned. Yes, if it is silent, there is an ambiguity. So you may be permitted to rectify the contract by leading oral evidence in this matter. You are explaining, you are straightening the contract here, because otherwise the documents is for want of explanation, the document cannot be acted upon. Okay. So under the Indian Contract Act, the law permits that the contract must be specific. So you will be permitted to lead evidence here pursuant to the provisions of a section 92 explanation, that is a section 91 explanation D. Oral evidence is offered to payment. That is a D के अंदर A contract writing for delivery of indigo. These contracts so and so. See that the oral evidence is offered. The evidence is admissible. So this will come under the provisions of G, will be attracting section 91 clause D and E also. Okay. Please note that oral evidence will be accepted. Number H. A hides lodging of B and gives B a card on his writing. Room rupees 200 a month. A may prove a verbal agreement that these terms were to be included partial boarding. So here, whether the boarding includes lodging or boarding is not mentioned there. You can fill up the gaps by leading oral evidence in this regard, again by you invoking the provisions of section 91 clause D and E here. Oral evidence can be led because the document is silent about this, is silent about the what exactly they are offering. I पे आ जाइए. A applies to B for a debt. A applies to B for a debt due to A sending a receipt for money. B keeps receipt and does not send the money. In a suit for amount, A may prove this. So again, here you are permitted to lead evidence. These are all illustration. When there is a latent ambiguity or a patent ambiguity or a gap is silent, you can lead evidence here. J में आ जाइए. A and B make a contract in writing to take effect upon the happening of a certain contingency. It's a contingent contract. The writing is left with B, who sues A upon it. A may show the circumstances under which it was delivered. So again, the provisions of section 30, 31 of the Contract Act permit you to the contingent contract in under what circumstances they can be executed. So what exactly happened in future, what is likely to happen? So on this basis, if there is ambiguity, so these are the illustration where oral evidence can be permitted in the matter here. Okay, anybody want to ask any question before I jump to 93? Please ask me question 91, 92 in illustration. Any questions? Yes. 93 पे आ जाइए. When the language used in a document is on the face ambiguous, underline this word, ambiguous or defective, evidence may not be given of the fact which would show its meaning or supply the defects. When the document is inherently vague, inherently defective, you will not be permitted to lead oral evidence. Let us see that. A agrees in writing to sell a horse to B for rupees 1,000 or 1,500. Evidence cannot be given to show which price was given. So there is uncertainty here. There is uncertainty and there is a vagueness here because there is a substantial difference between 1,000 or 1,500. So when the agreement is void, vague for vagueness, that cannot be acted upon. Okay, no evidence can be led here. Then B, a deed contain blanks. Evidence cannot be given of the fact which would show how they were meant to be filled. So a blank agreement which has been signed and given, you cannot expect a contract to be formulated on that basis. It's a zero value unless it is written down in the handwriting of a person who executed the contract. So a blank paper does not convey any meaning unless a fabrication take place. So यहाँ पे when there is a ambiguity, this ambiguity is a patent ambiguity which cannot be curable. These are the cases. This is non-curable ambiguity. You call it here late patent ambiguity, not latent. Latent something which can be rectified. 94 check is very interesting. Exclusion of evidence against application of document to existing facts. When the language in a document is plain in itself, when it applies accurately to existing facts, evidence may not be given to show that it was not meant to apply to such fact. So if the document is plainly given, you are a owner of the premises in city of Bombay, you are giving the premises, a residential premises on leave and license to somebody, clearly mentioning, and the document is registered. Now, under the provisions of the Maharashtra Rent Control Act, the landlord, the owner is permitted to give the residential house on license basis. When it is purely a license and registered document, it cannot be presumed there was a tenancy. it cannot be presumed it's a sale. So the document is very clean and clear. You will not be permitted to lead any other evidence. So the law doesn't permit you to take a somersault like in other earlier cases, that it is a agreement is silent, agreement is actually lease and not a leave and license not to be acted upon. That is only in cases where there is an ambiguity in the agreement, where there is a scope between or there is an oral agreement between the parties. Yeah, here 94 speaks of a case, there is no oral agreement. And also speaks of a case, the agreement is totally clean. Isn't it? The language used in here is accurate. There is no ambiguity of whatsoever nature. When you are interpreting a statute, the language of the statute in a simple manner to be construed. So in a simple manner, when you are construing, especially for example, this is a finest example, those who are practicing in Bombay, the landlord letting out the premises after 1st of October 1987, a premises to a licensee, which is famously known as in the city of Mumbai, a leave-in license. A leave-in license created after 1st of October 1987. That is the amendment period of the Maharashtra rent control legislation. And when the agreement is registered, that is conclusive to the effect that here the agreement is a leave-in license. Tenant is not permitted to go and take up the plea. It is a lease or a tenancy. You cannot go to the small causes court and seek a declaration. You declare me as a tenant. You are barred. So 94 is a situation at bar, but the court should be understood here. Yes, there is no room for any encroachment. There is no room for any explanation. There is no room for any ambiguity of whatsoever nature. This is an accurate document. It's a where the parties have understood it, and both the parties are intelligent people, educated people, or in case the other side is not educated, were represented by an advocate or a broker, the terms were explained clearly and the consideration was paid for that purpose. There is no room for any no other interpretation save and except to prove that yeah, this was a license. तो उस सिलसिले के अंदर you cannot lead oral evidence when the document is clean. The document speak for itself. It should be construed in a liberal, it should be construed in the manner as it is written. तो यहाँ पे oral evidence की बात ही नहीं आएगी, and you will not be permitted to take a different inconsistent stand like section 91, 92 proviso 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 permit you on the ground of fraud, you can take it out. You can't even take up the glee of misrepresentation in this agreement. The court will say, at the most, what are you losing? He is agreeing to, the landlord is agreeing to allow you as a licensee. A licensee is a mere permissive occupier under the provisions of the Easement Act, and the agreement is registered. A registered agreement is conclusive. Even under the Transfer of Property Act, Registration Act, the law says that the court will take a constructive notice that the agreement is registered document. And the registered agreement clearly says by virtue of section 55 and 56, 57 of the Maharashtra rent control legislation, in the chapter section 24, starting with when a licensee does not vacate the premises, you have to go to a competent authority in Konkan Bhavan to file a eviction application. That he is a tribunal, he is not even a civil court. He cannot permit you to lead evidence to prove contentious issues. You cannot be permitted to lead evidence here, which is contrary to the agreement, registered agreement. So in this scenario, 94 ke andar, no evidence will be allowed. But you must be in a position to convince the judge this agreement is of this nature. But if the agreement is giving room, suppose unregistered document exposes you to risk and danger, especially when you're a landlord in the city of Bombay, Calcutta, Madras, and see to it that here big cities can there get the agreement registered. A registered agreement will clearly speak of a license, and you cannot vary the intention of the parties, the terms and condition. But unregistered document, the court will give rise to a lot of suspicion, that the parties were intending to write something else and something else was happening. Huh? The entire document has been camouflage to circumvent the rule of law, to circumvent the various provision, to commit a fraud upon the legislation. That is also when both the parties try to cheat the law, then that is known as a pari doctrine of pari delicto. Pari delicto के अंदर आप भी गलती में वो भी गलती में. Then the court will see that here whichever party has committed lesser crime may be a recipient of the court's indulgence. Otherwise, both the parties will not get it. Court will say that both the parties are guilty, both the parties are not entitled to any relief. It is a discretion of the court. It's an equity jurisdiction. So 94 is a situation in one of the matters which went from Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh or Telangana. The Chief Justice, our present Chief Justice, was interpreting a lease agreement on the leave and license agreement. It's a recent judgment of the year 2001, last year. Ka check कीजिए आप. Section 91 may has taken the plea. There is no question of taking up a somersault. The agreement is clean. It's a license agreement. It's a conducting agreement. Because you are permitted to, if you are a commercial premises, a tenant or a owner is allowed to give for conducting. A conductor is nobody but a licensee, a permissive occupant. And by no stretch of imagination or by necessary implication, he can claim a higher right. He cannot take up the plea that I have become owner. He cannot take up the plea that I have become tenant or subtenant. He cannot even take up the plea. It's an irrevocable license. A conductor is a conductor. He is a manager. He is in the capacity of a licensee without any interest. A license is a mere privilege. You're occupying the premises during the pleasure of the owner. The moment it is terminated, you are bound and liable to vacate. So in the city of Bombay, such suits are filed under the Presidency's Small Cause Court Act under Section 41. Formerly, they used to be filed under Section 9, both in the City Civil Court, High Court, Bombay. But after the judgment of the Bombay High Court, Division Bench judgment, I will give the judgment AIR 1980 Bombay, page number 125. That's a beautiful judgment given by Justice Lentin and Justice Deshpande, where they said that in a matter like this, where a conducting agreement take place, it's a permissive occupant, it's a license. The party cannot come to the High Court and seek a declaration that he is a trespasser. Actually, he is a person who came with the premises with the permission. So the agreement speak for itself. So the court has given beautifully. That's a Nagin's case, if I'm not remembering correctly. Nagin's case. Nagin is the first gentleman name. When you open and see on the net, AIR 1982 Bombay, page number 124. It's a beautiful judgment that will explain to you the concept of this particular section, how the advocates take different, very shrewd advocates, especially intelligent advocates. They take this resort to this 94, 91, 92. They want to lead evidence and to prove that this agreement is not meant to be acted upon. The intentions were totally different. It is not a sale deed. It's a mortgage deed. It's a mortgage deed, and it is not an agreement of sale for specific performance. It's a collateral agreement for a surety. A loan was taken. ये सब चीजें आपको देखने पड़ेंगे. These are very interesting proposition. Section 91, 92, 93, 90 पढ़ें आप. You come to know the entire concept, the gamut of both civil law and criminal law. But even it also embraces the criminal law. So some of the documents where under the CRPC the enjoins, it not only applies to civil cases, even section, for example, 164 mandate that year, the confession must be recorded by the judicial magistrate in the writing. That itself is a writing which is falling within the sweep of section 91 and 92. It's a grant and it's a disposition. Certain under 92 में आ जाएगा उसके अंदर वो. 92 के अंदर. It is not only property. Then it says that here the memorandum, he is required to prepare a memorandum The learned magistrate under section 80 memorandum under the CRPC, आप पढ़े memorandum क्या होता है? Can you challenge the memorandum? No. That is how the different. When it is connected to property. Yes, 94 हो गया. Now let us see the illustration to 94. A sells to B by deed my estate at Rampur containing 100 bighas. A sells to B by a deed, maybe a deed of sale deed. My estate at Rampur containing 100 bighas. A has an estate at Rampur containing 100 bighas. So then evidence may not be given of the fact that estate meant to be sold was one situate at a different place and of a different size. So A will not be permitted to take a somersault. What I wanted to sell 100 bighas is not situated at Rampur, it is situated at Shampur. नहीं चलेगा है. Huh? Actually, he is having land that much bighas, and agreement was effected. So at the time when the agreement was entered into, the price was less, maybe one lakh a bigha. Agreement बेचने के बाद third party came and troubled him. I am prepared to give you more money. So this gentleman is prone to become dishonest and say that since I am getting big money, I will repudiate this contract. He will try to cheat the other side by saying that here, I did not mean to sell you this property at Rampur, which is not situated there, it is elsewhere. So when inquiries were made, a court is appointing a court commissioner. Did he have any other property apart from Rampur? No, he doesn't have it. So he is in possession of only 100 bighas and no other property. So in such a scenario, so your sale deed, your agreement of sale with Mr. A is binding. You cannot take a contradictory stand. You cannot bypass it. You are bound and liable to perform the specific performance of a contract and honor the commitment, and you cannot sell it to others because the price is gone up. So the agreement speaks for itself. There is no room or scope for any indulgence to take a different view in the matter. Okay, 94 समझ में आ गया आपको ना? 95 पे आ जाइए. Evidence has to document unmeaning in reference to existing fact. A document which has no meaning. When language used in a document is plain in itself, but is unmeaning in reference to existing facts, evidence may be given to show that it was used in a particular sense. Now, there is an ambiguity in this document. There is a document is not clean, though the language is simple, but the meaning is not very clean. Whether it is bhiga, whether it is a so and so description south mein hai, north mein hai, whether some names are incorrectly mentioned. Now let us see the illustration. A sells B by a deed my house at Calcutta. He is selling a house at Calcutta to B. A is selling it to B. Then A had no house in Calcutta. He doesn't have a house. But appears that he had a house at Howrah, of which B had been in possession since the execution of the deed. The fact that the fact may be proved to show that the deed related to the house of Howrah. So Howrah is a countryside which is situated in Calcutta, West Bengal. Now A is entering into a contract that I want to sell my house at Howrah for a consideration of rupees 1 lakh. And he has put him into possession. So there is a doctrine of part performance coming into play under section 53 of the Transfer of Property Act. So you know the doctrine of part performance. When a person pursuant to a contract has been inducted into possession, after paying certain consideration, he cannot be dispossessed. by the owner of the land or the property for the asking unless serious breaches are committed by him. When a suit is filed by the owner of the land against B for a declaration that I have terminated the contract for A reason, B reason, he should be directed, called upon to quit, vacate, hand over possession, and pay me mean profit. B can take a weapon. It is a weapon defense. I am in possession. Pursuant to the agreement of sale, I have been inducted. By virtue of the doctrine of part performance, I am entitled to protection and I am ready and willing to perform the remaining part. The amount agreed was 1 lakh rupees, which I paid 50,000 rupees, and the remaining amount he is not accepting from me because somebody else neighbor is offering him more money. He has become dishonest. So the house which was at Howrah, he is trying to take up a plea. It was not in Calcutta. Calcutta and Howrah are situated in the same vicinity. Merely by stating Howrah and Calcutta, it is not going to make a big difference. They may be used differently. You may say that the house is situated in Bombay or a house is situated in some place at Baikala. Baikala is Mumbai. It may not. Mumbai is not used. Mumbai Central use kare, not a Mumbai Heart. So it is not a much of a difference here. So the unmeaning can be filled up here. The court can presume, yes, he is having more than 3-4 houses, confusion may come. But he is having only one house here. Only one house in Howrah, which is in the district of Calcutta, is in possession. So confusion is sought to be created before the court. I don't have a house in Calcutta. So how the suit would lie for specific performance? How the suit would lie for eviction? The description is vague. The defendant can seek indulgence of the court that I may be permitted to lead oral evidence of myself and the agent and the locality to place and record that apart from the house in Howrah, he does not have any other house in Calcutta. The description which has been given in the contract may be unmeaning. It may be not very clear, but I am now trying to clear it up. So I may be permitted to lead oral evidence in this regard. The ambiguity can be rectified. So you are permitted to lead ambiguity here. Howrah ke business mein. So he's already put it to possession. So you are put into possession when you are taken substantial amount by way of consideration. Under the provisions of section 54, 55 of the Transfer of Property Act, nobody is inducting anybody for the asking unless there's a consideration. So you have your right is a doctrine of part performance. While proving a doctrine of part performance, you can also lead evidence to the court that here the houses which is trying to create misunderstanding is one and the same. Howrah and Calcutta both are same. Okay. Anybody want to ask me any question before I shift to 96? Is that clear to you? Okay. 96 पे आ जाइए. Evidence as to application of language which can apply to one evidence as to application of language which can apply to one only of several persons. Now let us read this. When facts are such that the language used might have been meant to apply to anyone and could not have been meant to apply to more than one of several persons of several things, evidence may be given of facts which show which of these person or things it was intended to apply. It's very interesting. Now we'll understand this section when there are several people are involved, when contract is involved with various persons are maybe it must be the illustration will throw some light in it. A agrees to sell to B for rupees 1,000 my white horse. So he says, my white horse is being sold to B for a consideration of rupees 1000. A has two white horses. यहाँ पे इसके पास दो horses हैं और mention किया I am selling my white horse. Evidence may be given of the fact which show which of them was meant. So here A is in possession of two horses. Both are white. But the agreement is again silent and does not, it is meant to apply more or meant to apply to one. What is sought to be sold is not clear. When it is unclear, both the parties can give lead evidence. Suppose the B has filed a suit for a perfect mandatory order of injunction directing him to sale, or maybe for a declaration that I had purchased horse, white horse, maybe having a particular mark on the nose, red nose, from him paying a consideration. That was the consideration. The B will take up, no, what I intended to sell was not the one which is choosing, the other horse which has a black mark on its tail. So both are white horses. There is an indescription not given here. So ultimately, the court will assess whose evidence to be appreciated. So both the parties will have a right to lead oral evidence, either through the agent, either through the person who communicated. If there is no direct evidence, if there may be other evidence. So there is an ambiguity and there are multiple choice. When there is a multiple choice, and what was my choice, what was done here is the answer to section 96. When evidence as to application which can apply to one only of several person. When there are several person, several articles which are sought to be sold, which one was sold? So when there is a ambiguity which is latent, not patent, यहाँ पे availability है. In the earlier case, there were two horses. यहाँ पे yes. Then see illustration B. A agrees to accompany B to Hyderabad. A agrees to accompany B to Hyderabad. Evidence may be given of the fact showing whether Hyderabad in Deccan, Hyderabad in Sindh was meant. So, pre-partition, we had two Hyderabad. There is one Hyderabad now in Pakistan, which is Sindh. There is an Hyderabad in Andhra Pradesh, now Telangana, Deccan it is called, isn't it? So when there is a contract between them, when there's a dispute between them, where they were to go and do business in which city of Hyderabad, Deccan, Hyderabad of Sindh, both the parties are permitted to lead oral evidence, as there are several cities of the same on nature. So when there are several cities, several persons of different names, of the same name, synonymous name, quantities, you will be permitted to lead. This is again falling within the ambit of a latent ambiguity. Okay, 97 पे आ जाइए. Evidence as to application of language. Evidence as to application of language to two sets of facts, to neither of which the whole correctly applies. When the language use applies partly to one set of existing facts and partly to just give me, I'll just close the phone. Sorry. Yeah, when language use applies partly to one existing fact and partly to another set of existing fact, but the whole of it does not apply correctly to either. Evidence may be given to show as to which of the two it was meant to apply. A agrees to sell to B my land at X in occupation of Y. A agrees to sell to B my land at X, some X location, in the occupation of Y. Maybe Y may be a tenant. A is agreeing to sell to B a land situated at X, maybe at Calcutta, Agra, in the occupation of his tenant who is Mr. Y. Then A has land at X but not in occupation of Y. So he has a land at Delhi or Agra, but which is not in the occupation of a tenant who is called Mr. Y, and has land in the occupation of Y, and he has land in the occupation of Y, but it is not X. Then again, there is a land which is in the occupation of his tenant, but not at Agra, Delhi. Evidence may be given of the fact showing which he meant to sell. So that means he is having two different types of land, which may be in the occupation of Y at two different places. So the evidence can be led to show that here what I meant was I wanted to sell the property which is in occupation of my tenant at Agra and not at Delhi. So he's having at both the places. So again, it is similarly in the same nature as section 95 and 96. Okay. 98 पे आ जाइए. Evidence as to meaning of illegible character, etc. Evidence may be given to show the meaning of illegible or not commonly intelligible character of foreign, obsolete, technical, local, and provincial expression of abbreviation and of words used in a particular sense. A sculpture agrees to sell to B all my mods. A has both models and modeling tools. Evidence may be given to show which he meant to sell. So again, when a person has got several articles, several paintings, several either sculpture, he has exhibited various work he has done, and which one the customer has purchased, when there's a dispute about which description, evidence can be led to show. This is again in the same model like 95, 96, 97. Okay. Then 99 पे आ जाइए. Who may give evidence of an agreement varying terms of the document? Persons who are not parties to document. Persons who are not parties to document or their representative in interest may give evidence of the fact tending to show a contemporaneous agreement varying the terms of the agreement. Interesting. When third parties, when their rights are affected, can challenge the agreement of A and B. C is a gentleman, a third party, who is proposing to challenge the transaction between A and B because their agreement has the effect of usurping his rights in the land. He is a third party in their proceeding. So he may not be a party to the transaction between A and B, the conveyance deed. He may take up the, like under the provisions of CPC, Order 39, Rule 1, the court granting injunction. Any third party can come to the court for apply for variation. Any agreed person, even you are not a party to the suit, you are a third party, can come to the court. I am affected by this order of injunction. This may kindly be vacated. So it is not the intention of the legislature that the third party rights should be affected. That is why under the Transfer of Property Act also, a bona fide purchaser, a bona fide transferee for consideration is protected. Isn't it? You know, everywhere you will find this expression in section 53, 53A, even under the Specific Relief Act, you will find it here in many places. So third parties having a right title interest can challenge the agreement of others, A and B, if the rights are affected. Now let us see. A and B make a contract in writing that B sells A certain cotton to be paid for on delivery. At the same time, they make a oral agreement that 3 months credit shall be given to A. This could not be shown as between A and B, but might be shown by C if it affects his interest. So a third party can show that, yeah, my rights are being affected. If the court has granted an injunction in a suit between A and B, perpetual order of injunction not to enter, remain upon the property, and आपकी property भी आधा भीगा आ गई इसके अंदर. You may say that, my lord, my property is affected. There's the description. I am challenging the order of the court as well as the agreement which has been produced by A and B each other. In fact, they are these are the agreement these are the sham document. They are bogus document, but they will not be permitted to encroach upon my property. So I have a right to lead evidence to show that here vary the terms of the contract. Because any contract entered into between A and B cannot affect the rights of C. Third parties can say that. Like A and B are fighting litigation in the court of law. Bona fide purchasers. So you filed a suit for specific performance against a builder without joining the subsequent transferee. You filed a suit against him that he may be directed to specifically perform the contract. And you did not apply for injunction. And you kept quiet. Suit file kare, 5 saal, 10 saal lag gaya. In the meanwhile, third party interest was created. It was a partnership firm. That person will take up the plea that I had no knowledge of the litigation or the earlier agreement. Of course, A, B has committed fraud upon you. The court will say take damages. It is not a fit case for granting you specific performance, putting into possession, because you have been sleeping over. Third party rights have been created 10 years ago. We do not like to disturb them. But had you been vigilant, had you made inquiries, you would have joined the third party. You should have challenged the agreement between the third party and the builder. You should have sought a declaration that the agreement be cancelled. Because your agreement of sale is prior in time, it should be given effect to. You should be given specific performance. So third party rights which were genuinely bona fidely protected cannot be challenged. It's a discretion of the court. But if they're fraudulently created, you have a right to challenge. Behind your back, you had no knowledge. And maybe you have been to some extent not very vigilant. You can always make an application for amendment. Amend your plan. Join the third party who has been impleaded. And also seek a declaration that the contract between the defendant and the third party is illegal. It has the effect of depriving my right title interest. I am the first purchaser. I have a lien over the property. So you will be permitted to lead such evidence with regard to challenging the agreement. Okay. 100 technology savings of provisions of Indian Succession Act relating to will, notwithstanding, nothing in this chapter shall be taken to affect any of the provisions of Succession Act. So Succession Act is now of overriding provision that will not affect it. Okay, this is all about the provisions of the onus. Yeah. आज के लिए इतना बस करेंगे? Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. So this is a very interesting and important topic. 91, 92, 92 से लेके 99 तक है. Please very remember them. Very, there is a exclusion of oral evidence and documentary evidence. So when there is a conflict, oral agreement भी है, written agreement भी है, and written agreement is vague and ambiguous, relating to whether the parties can lead oral evidence or not. When the parties can lead it, cannot lead it. When the court permits and when the court cannot permit. A little confusion, but you should read the section along with the illustration and along with the exception. Otherwise, you will not be able to understand this. Okay, anybody want to ask me any question? I don't mind because Friday I am not available here. Tomorrow I can take lecture. Tomorrow is Wednesday, no? So shall we take on Thursday? Thursday रख लेंगे? Tomorrow difficulty, Thursday. Ashutosh, Thursday के दिन? I will try and cover everything on Thursday, if you permit me.
We can do it on Thursday.
Thursday, our next meeting. I think I'll cover everything because all repetition.
Sure.
It is all easy now. Don't worry about it. Because the most difficult sections were 90 to 100. Abhi 100 se leke 160 are easy section. In fact, which I have in fact covered them. I'll repeat them. आज के लिए बस Thursday. Tomorrow छुट्टी break because I have other commitment. So Thursday ले लेंगे हम.
All right, sir. All
Thursday I can take.
I'm ending the lecture, sir.
Okay, bye bye. Good night.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Good night.
Good night, sir.